Ciao paesani, buona Pasqua, and greetings from my Cucina Quarantena. I'm John Viola from the Italian American Podcast, and I know everybody is home, safe and sound, and keeping their distance. And it's Holy Week, and everybody knows an Italian American family really takes seriously their Easter traditions. Easter pies, grain pies, meat pies, breads. And so I figured I would collect what I have here. I'm lucky that my family hoards and we have a lot of the ingredients you need for a great Neapolitan pastiera. But I wanted to share with you some tips and alternatives in case you don't, ways that you could make this even in the difficult times that we're facing. So join me in the kitchen and we're gonna make the best version of pastiera we can with what's at hand.
So if we're talking grain pie, grain is the star of the show. And this is grano cotto from Italy. It's a boiled grain. We have a bunch of them in the house. I'm going to use the jar this year, but you can also use the cans. It's just a different size, same product. Just make sure you're planning your ingredients accordingly. They're below. Now, if you can get your hands on it, the traditional method is real wheat berries. You got to soak them for 24 hours and then cook them in fresh water for about 3 hours plus on like a low heat. And there's alternatives listed below if you can't get either. But no matter what kind of grain you're using, the whole thing starts with the citrus. So you're going to zest the skin of 1 full orange and 2 full lemons. As you can see, my Sicilian mother's got blood oranges here, but it's all the same. Put those in a bowl, set those aside for a couple of steps later. Now, in a saucepan, you're just going to bring 3 tablespoons of butter and a cup of whole milk, heat them up, and then in goes your grain, okay? And then you can see this is grain under water. Some people say dry it out. I put it right in. It's really nice and soft. Just get that in there and break it all up. Make sure that you can mix it in good, and you're going to try to get it to a creamy consistency, sort of like a little bit like custardy. So add in your citrus, and then for about 10 to 12 minutes you're going to cook it on medium heat just to make sure it gets nice and creamy, and you'll feel the texture sort of thicken. After that, just turn it off and let it cool, and in your mixer, mix 3 pounds of ricotta, which you should dry out and let it get a little dry, and about 1.5 pounds, a little less, of sugar. And it's the eggs. We got 9 whole eggs and 3 egg yolks, so this is a really rich pie. Now, just blast it together in your mixer. And now here's where the signature flavor of pastiera comes from. It's these flower waters. And orange blossom water, this is the center of attention. But rose water is the old way to do it, and I still use some. This is vanilla extract, but usually I would use the Neapolitan vanilla powder packets, but I can't get my hands on them this year, so a little bit of that. Millefiori is another flower flavor. And then, of course, the cinnamon, which Pat would say is too Sicilian for his taste, but for me, it's one of the stars. So we're going to use 1/2 tablespoon of cinnamon, a full tablespoon of orange blossom water, you could a little more, a little less than a teaspoon of vanilla, 1/2 teaspoon of the millefiori, and 1/2 teaspoon of rose water, and that should be it for your flavors. Now comes my mother's favorite part. This is the candied citron, or cheddar in Italian, and candied orange peel. So you can get this either diced like this, or you can get the complete one sometimes. Sometimes you get it in the store already chopped, but for me it's just chop up as much as you like. Adds a great texture and an amazing flavor. And again, in a pinch, I'm just going to list some really interesting alternatives down below. So once it's cooled, you're going to take your creamed grain and you're going to get that in there. And then one final mix just to get everything together. Now, as I said, certain things that are premium. So I can't get lard this year. Flour is really tough to find, so I'm going to use some frozen pie crust we have. But I still want a traditional pastiera, so I'm going to roll out one of those crusts into my strips. Just roll it nice and thin between 2 pieces of wax paper. Then I'm going to take what I guess is my nonna's ravioli maker. I don't even know what this thing is, but you can use a knife, whatever you have, and then just make some interesting strips. And you can make the lattice work beforehand on the wax paper. This is kind of a personal artistic touch. Some people put a full top, some people put designs, but it's my least favorite part, so I try to use as little as possible. Then you just fill your pie crust, kind of to the top. I always overfill a little bit, but that's okay. You plop on the lattice, make sure it didn't get screwed up, and that's it. Not so bad. And just pinch the edges to get everything together. And what I'm also going to do is, because my family likes a bigger pastiera, we have this heirloom tin. I'm going to roll out a couple more of the pie crust that I have frozen, and I'm just going to stuff them in there and fill the tin. So really, you can fill patches, you can be a little bit rustic with this. It's soul food. It doesn't have to be beautiful, but just get everything in, make sure the corners are pressed. And then I'm going to lattice this one with a little bit more of a sort of woven crisscross, add some structure. You can really do whatever you like. Just make sure when you're done, you pinch the edges together, get everything in there nice and tight, and you're ready for your baking. So a 375-degree oven for about an hour and a half. You kind of know by looking at it, you'll get that beautiful golden top, and a skewer or a toothpick will go in and come out with no liquid on it. When that's it, your pastiera's done.
So here's our end result. 2 beautiful golden brown Italian-American grain pies, pastiere, pizza grana, call them what you want, but it's great to have them on the Easter table in my family in these difficult times. So as you can see here, made do with what we had in the house, substituted a few ingredients that wouldn't normally be in here. And for you guys out there who are trying to do this at home, maybe to keep up a tradition, maybe to start a tradition, I know it's tough to get ingredients, so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you my recipe down here in the description, but I'm also going to give you a little bit of optionality on the ingredients, substitutions that you can make, stuff that I've heard other people use, stuff that'll taste the same. Remember, I'm not a professional chef like Rosella, but I do my best to keep the traditions in my family, and I hope you do the same for yours. So what's most important is not that you stick to a particular recipe. Get creative, use what you have. What is most important is that you take the time with whatever family's in the house, do some baking, put something traditional on the table, and keep a tradition alive. So thanks for watching. You can watch our other videos, our greetings from Italian America, and everything else we've been doing during the lockdown. If you want, we're going to put a link to our t-shirt. If you feel lucky to be Italian, you can have one too. All the money that we raise right now is going to support hospitals in the south of Italy. So thanks for watching us, and we'll see you next time on the Italian American Podcast.